Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our event focused on how to accelerate your generative AI readiness with APIs and integrations. My name is Lauren, and I'm the content manager for the Google Cloud community, and I'm thrilled to be here today with product managers Michael and Pramodh, who will be taking you through the content and answering your questions today. Before handing it over to the team, I just want to remind everyone that questions are encouraged, so please feel free to add those into the YouTube chat box, and we'll be sure to get to them either in the chat or at the end of the session. And as a reminder, this is recorded, so you can always go back and watch it again on your own time. And for any questions that we don't get to, please use the Google Cloud community, and the link to that is in the YouTube description. So someone from the community or the Google Cloud team will be happy to answer your questions. All right, with that, I'll hand it over to the team.
Hey everyone, super excited to be here today and talk about the topics that we have. As mentioned, I'm a product manager on the Apigee team, and I will talk to you a little bit later today about how you can leverage Duet AI and Apigee to accelerate your journey. For the first section, I will hand it over to Pramodh to walk us through.
Excellent, folks. First of all, many thanks for joining from wherever you are. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Pramodh. I am also a product manager in Google Cloud. We will see great things, what is in store with AI, with APIs and integrations today. Right. So before I get started, just to give you the lay of the context in terms of what we'll cover in the next 58 minutes of sort is we will first try and understand the state of Gen AI, right? And what is there a divide and how we can help bridge the divide from what is hype to actually making it reality. The second section, we will quickly understand what Google Cloud has to offer in terms of APIs, API management, integration, automation, so that you could now try and understand how that bridge is going to work across. And the third section, possibly the most interesting section, is where we'll go into actually showing you a live demo of all the capabilities which it actually goes and exists as such. And as Lauren said, keep your questions coming and we will try and address them as soon possible. And we will try, if not, we will try and address them through live session as well. So let's get started. We all know what is the power of Gen AI is, what is in store of Gen AI. If you have not seen the announcement from Google as of 30 minutes back, I strongly encourage to go and look at what we announced as the Gemini model, our most powerful, capable AI model yet, right? So that's what we actually made it as publicly available. There are multiple demos which actually shows the power of Gemini. So we all are also expecting that power to be helping in us in be it in terms of our daily life or be it in terms of our work, all of that, except that it can't solve world hunger, right? So from helping us drafting documents, sending or completing emails, or as IT practitioners, we expect the Gen AI to actually go out and help us find solutions instead of actually going and manually searching, or be it in terms of bridging the gap. I am very good at one, but I need somebody to help me to complete the solutions to actually go out and bridge the gap, right? That's what Gen AI is going to help us increase productivity, help find solutions and deliver solutions better, right? So that's what Gen AI can actually go and help for us as IT practitioners. But with that said, if you ask yourself a question, it's been almost a year since or more since we had the first ChatGPT aha moment. And since then, how much as you have realized the actual potential of Gen AI within your enterprise? It's close to possibly very negligible. That has been true, right? It is no surprise because we are still in its infancy. There is a lot of interest, there is a lot of spend happening to actually go and explore and understand. But turning that into what it means for you, for your customers, for your enterprise is still holding it. It is because of various reasons, which is what we're actually going to go and cover, right? So for example, IDC says that even with AI ML, it's only 10% of the customers are actually doing it at scale, which is a huge thing given that we have been working on this for multi-years there. Okay, so we saw the power of Gen AI to solve what it could do, but the reality where we are and what is actually causing that particular divide, right? And how could we actually go and that divide? Before we go further, let's take an analogy so that it's easy to follow. If you actually take a look at it, what has been the most successful technology till date? Right? We have possibly, you all have lived multiple technologies thing. What is the most successful technology which has sustained over time? And the answer is internet. Right? The internet is one which has actually seen its wave continue, and it continues to actually explode like there. So we can draw a lot of analogy in terms of how internet started and how it is today to what Gen AI is today, right? Like for example, Gen AI is it's in its infancy, similar to how internet was possibly a couple of decades before. Like let's take, for example, if you look at the infrastructure required for internet, from dial-up modems to what we are with optic fibers and Wi-Fi's everywhere, right? We are even talking about including Wi-Fi into Maslow's hierarchy, right? It has become such a important piece in terms of that. Or if you look at how internet, when it started, a lot of interfaces were quite complex, right? It was not easy to use. There was a lot of concerns in terms of governance and data compliance. I still remember my dad saying, okay, what happens if somebody reads my email? When he was first creating his email address, all of that. So there is a lot of concerns during the internet era in terms of, okay, who is going to see the data, where the data lives, how the data is. And finally, when it all started, the internet had was only available to a niche people, right? You could call this Gen Z or the millennials or whoever it was available then. But if you look at it now, it is all available to everybody, from a senior citizen to my 3-year-old kid who actually watches YouTube kids app kind of stuff, right? So that's the power what internet has actually gone through and where we are. You can now clearly map the same journey as how we see Gen AI is going to go through, right? In terms of, let's start with, for Gen AI to be actually be ready to get to the scale of where internet is, it has to be useful. What do we mean by useful? Useful is not just writing a song or actually completing a document, but rather useful in the context of the work which you are trying to actually go and do, which means that it needs access to your data, your enterprise data. It could be your HR system, it could be your CRM system, it could be your ERP system, it could be the app which you use day in and day out. That's what is actually going to go and it needs access. Gen AI needs access to it so that it could actually provide relevant recommendations, relevant assistance to actually get your work done. Great. Now I need access to data, but it cannot be the access to data cannot be in a silo. What do I mean by that is I don't need to go to always chat GPT or bar to actually go and get answers. Rather, it has to be accessible. It has to be in the tool, in the app where I'm actually performing my daily job, right? So it has to be within it could be my ERP app, or it could be within my actually workspace, sheets, slides. I expect AI from that useful data to manifest itself in the app which I'm useful. That's which I'm using. That's where the power of AI gets unlocked. Great. With that said, like any technology, like any thing, power, there is a lot of concerns and governance requirements which comes into picture. Okay, is this going to get exploded? How am I going to manage it? How do I actually go and get audit? How do I get transparency? Who used it? When was it used? What was it used for? All of that we have seen, including governments and administrations actually trying to frame up policies around what it needs to get done, right? So there is a lot of thing which we need to pay attention into how it's going to actually go and get managed. We don't want it to add an additional overhead to actually go and make it much more complex than what we are doing today. Okay. The last but not the least is Gen AI actually has done one important transformation, most important transformation. It has actually made data available to everybody in their tips, right? It was like the next of search kind of stuff. Now with Gen AI, we can actually use that data for the right purpose, which means that it has to be accessible. Like I said, in the internet era, from my kid to a senior citizen, it has to be accessible, useful to every persona, like be it a developer, be it a business user, right? So that's what these are the four primary key pillars, be it in terms of access to data, making it available in the app or the place, the channel which you are actually working. Make sure that it's not actually adding additional overhead. And finally, it actually truly democratizes it. Truly, it's available to every person, be it in the developer, be it a business user, to get your job done. Right? So before I flip, again, coming back to the internet analogy, if you look at it, what actually caused the flip for internet to be successful? It was possibly the Netscape. It was possibly the browser. It was possibly the Internet Explorer, right? So that's what we are looking at. What is actually going to be the flip to make generative AI successful is actually going to be AI, APIs and integrations and automations. So the APIs and integration and automation are the one which is going to help you address all of these four things which we saw, be it make it useful, accessible, manageable, and of course accessible to, like, usable to every other person there. So, but if you take a look at it, if APIs is this solution, or APIs is going to help bridge the gap of making generative AI reality, if automation and integration is actually going to help bridge that gap, are we ready for it? If you take a look, go and look back at your organization, APIs and integration was often a specialized skill. What do I mean by that? It was done by a few folks. It was actually not easily available to everybody. It needed some special skills, which means that if that's the solution, we are not ready for it. Okay. Like if you take a couple of stats just to actually share with you, the number of applications which are getting built thanks to Gen AI is going to actually go and multiply, right? And the number of APIs each of those apps or each of those microservices are going to expose is actually going to be like grow at exponential pace, which means that we need far better assistance to get and manage all of this complexity. That's where the actual power of Google Cloud and Duet AI in Google Cloud comes into picture, particularly Duet AI in Apigee and Duet AI in application integration. Right? So just to summarize before I actually go into transition into the next section, we saw that Gen AI is, we all know what the power of Gen AI holds, and we also see that there is a gap between making it reality and what are the things needed to actually make it to a reality, and how APIs and integration will help you make those four steps which we just talked about. With that said, our mission is, I said, to actually give you the assistive AI through Duet AI to help develop, manage APIs, build, automate your business processes much more easier, better, so that you could actually get to where the power of Gen AI holds in terms of promise. So that's what the Duet AI mission is. We are actually going to be showcasing many of these with the demo. Before I go into showing Duet AI in demo, let's actually spend a few minutes to make sure that we all understand what does Google Cloud has to offer in terms of the application integration or automation, or the Apigee API management. So Google Cloud has one of the most advanced market-leading API management solution called as Apigee. Is actually rated 8th year in row and will continue to be the leader by Gartner and others in terms of in this market for API management. And what you need to remember after this call about Apigee as an API management, these are the four things, right? It can actually go and address any use case, any architecture, which does mean that you could actually have your APIs running on premise, running on another cloud, all of that, and it could actually go and help you manage all of that complexity. And again, tying back to our Gen AI, when you have more APIs coming out, it should be able to go and address that particular scale. That's what. So Apigee has been planet scale tested because it is being in the market for a long time. It is used by thousands of customers, including large retailers, banks, processing transactions, payments, your Black Friday, Cyber Monday, all of that. So it can actually go and do it at scale. And more important, with this APIs coming into picture, you want to make sure that they are protected. So it can actually go and it has built-in protection to make sure that your core systems, which we talked about, right? That you making it useful is not gonna, your core systems, your core apps do not get exposed. So it needs to be protected. That's what it does. And coming back to that manageable, Apigee makes sure that it does not add any additional overhead. It actually suits for every developer, right? For it is part of your daily experience, be it if you're using your IDE, all of it. This is what you're going to see it in the demo, that it is actually built into your existing tooling, so that it is not actually going and adding anything, any additional overhead for you to go and manage APIs. Okay, so with that is what Apigee API Management is. The second product which we are going to talk about and which we are going to go and see a demo is called as application integration. Both of these are available on Google Cloud Console. You could go and start accessing them right now to actually validate what we are actually talking here. The four things which you need to keep in mind when looking at in application integration. It's basically an iPaaS offering from Google Cloud. It is targeted towards having a low code, no code, so that you could actually rapidly go to market. You don't need to write code unless you want to. There is always an ability to go and get into code if required. But the core value proposition is how you could rapidly build your business processes, automate your business processes. More importantly, connect to your enterprise applications, be it your SAPs of the world, Salesforce of the world, Workdays of the world, or Concurs of the world. All of that you should be able to go and integrate, connect, and orchestrate. That's what it is all about. It offers versatile transformation so that your orchestrations is powerful. And more importantly, the last one which you see here is what it's given, right? It runs on Google Cloud. It is available across regions. But more importantly, one thing which I would actually want to leave it with is this is the same solution which Google uses internally to run our own business. So it is already Google scale tested. So you could actually trust your business similar to how Google is trusting its business on this particular product there. So again, you will see Duet AI in action in these pro products. So now let's get 1 and 2 together. What do I mean by that is we saw what is needed to bridge the gap. We saw the product capabilities coming in from Google Cloud. How does this actually match to the divide slide which we saw? With Duet AI, you could actually go and make your data useful, which means that Duet AI will help you build APIs in a standardized way so that you could actually unlock that data faster. Duet AI will make your processes useful, which means that it can actually go and help you orchestrate from just a prompt, define the entire business process flows so that you could actually go and deliver that to your business there. The third aspect, which is what you see as supercharge your AI, Duet AI is actually going to make Gen AI available to every user, be it through your plugins, as ChatGPT plugins or Vertex extensions. It is actually available so that you could actually make use of it. We talked about democratization available to various personas. That's what this is actually going to get enabled. And something which is running across is we talked about making it manageable. It's like how it is inbuilt into your existing tools, how it is actually providing insights, auditability, transparency, so that you don't have additional operational overhead is what actually Duet AI is empowering you as a user. So again, it helps you make your data useful, your processes useful, people useful. When I mean people useful, access to the Gen AI, and of course streamlines operations, development and operations there. Okay. With that said, I'm going to go and hand it over. It's time to go beyond slides into demos as well, but you will see that in action with Michael coming on stage. So, Michael.
Thank you, Pramodh. So, as Pramodh has established, demand for APIs and to unlock the data is exploding, right? But how now what we are going to talk about now is how we're going to make it easier for you to build those APIs so that you can access the data. So I will introduce the hero of our journey here, who is Shiloh, an imaginary developer at a Cloud9 Bean & Co company, who has just, imagine he has just gone to a meeting with front-end engineers, with designers, with product managers, and talked about creating a new API required for an application that they want to build. So let's talk about how Duet AI in Apigee is going to make this easier for you. Duet AI lets you build an application integration interface easily with just natural language directly in a developer environment, right? Like Visual Studio Code that you can see here. All of the experiences that I will show you in a bit in a demo are integrated into the Google Cloud Code extension in VS Code. And it will all leverage the context that is already stored in API Hub for you in Apigee. So without further ado, let's switch to the actual demo, where I will show you how how Shiloh would sort of access this problem. So now that you are seeing my Visual Studio Code screen, you can see I have my Cloud Code open alongside all my other Google Cloud services. I have also an Apigee section, so to speak. I can see all of my existing APIs I have already uploaded to API Hub right here, accessible to me. But let's actually say that I want to design this new API that I have came out of a meeting, and I want to build an API. So I will click on the Sparkle plan, and I want to design an API which will help me build an application that will allow people to buy, coffee beans. I'm a coffee bean company, and the API or the application should include functionality that will allow people to buy coffee beans, to view the status of their orders, to cancel the order, or request a refund. So just with this, I can select that I want to create this API. And what is happening now is Duet AI is processing my prompt, and it is creating an open API specification based on this prompt. So what you can see here, this is the Swagger view of my Open API spec. You can see that we are using the Open API spec version 3.0. And you can see all the objects or the schemas and the paths that have been created for me. The one part I want to call your attention to is this callout that in the generated API spec, the enterprise context has resulted in 2 modifications. What does it mean? Let's look at the output panel. So in the output panel, you can see that Duet AI has found 21 existing API definitions already in my API Hub. It has identified the components that can be reused. And so you can see here that, for example, the error object, the schema here, has actually been reused from another API where this has already been used, ensuring consistency of my APIs across endpoints. The same has happened for the coffee bean, right? So if I review the coffee bean object, this has actually been reused from the coffee bean API, which I already have in my API Hub. So this is great, right? And it sort of gives me the overview of my API specification. But I might want to edit the way the specification further. And I can easily do that here in VS Code, leveraging this view code option. So what it shows me is the YAML file of this API, where we can further see the power of Duet AI. So if I want to edit this file, let's say I might want to add a server URL because I already have a mock server or actual service implemented, or whatever. I can just start editing this file. And what you can see here right now is actually Duet AI itself has already knows what I might be wanting to do and adds a server URL for me, right? I can edit the server URL if I want to, but just like that, it's available for me in this API specification. Now I'm going to go ahead and remove this for now. What I can do is whenever I'm happy with my API specification, I can click and save it to my API Hub. I can name it as, coffee beans demo. Sure, it's a version 1.0. And just like that, my API that I just created is being deployed to the API hub, and you can see the confirmation that it's successfully been so, and it's uploaded. I can also choose, once it's sort of uploaded, to build a mock server or view it in an API hub further. So now that being said, we will switch back to the deck, where we will talk and recap a little bit what we have just seen. So as you could see, it took me just seconds to get from a prompt to an initial specification definition, right? Now I can, the reason why this is so important, right, is because I don't have to just stare at an empty screen when I want to write my API spec, or I don't have to dive right into code to start implementing this API. I can actually create this open API specification that I can use to iterate with others to make sure that the contract we are building is what we want and what we need to meet our users' needs. And once you have the API spec, you can use a lot of great other things. You can create a mock server for it. You can also start generate a code, right? A scaffolding code implementation of this, and that you can later on use to deploy this API into Google Cloud, as well as documentation that you can use on your website. And that now that you have the API specification, you can use it across the enterprise for API discovery, right? You can publish it internally, externally, and people can find the right API that they need for the job that they are doing. And all this while enabling the consistency of schemas and styles across your enterprise, thanks to the enterprise context leveraging, that we have seen in the application. So that's to wrap up the Duet AI and Apigee journey. Next up, Pramodh will talk about application integration.
Excellent. Thank you, Michael. Again, team, you saw what Duet AI in Apigee or in API it could actually do. As a developer, now we always hear the story of, oh, you have to do the API first journey, right? But we as developers, we love to write code, and the API definition actually often comes later. With the help of Duet AI, now you saw how you could actually define the API, and then start going where it does not take your time to actually go and start building the definition itself. And more importantly, it is not just defining the spec, it is defining the spec in what your enterprise expects, what your customers expect it to be, right? That's the most important aspect, which Michael actually showcased in the demo there. So we saw how Duet AI is actually going to really increase your productivity in terms of and also helping you adhere to standards within the enterprise and approaching it in an API first design structure. Now we are going to actually go and look at, great, I have my APIs. At the end of the day, the API has to do some work, right? The API has to go and automate your processes, be it in terms of your order to cash process, or be it in terms of actually making it your payments, or actually employee onboarding. It has to actually go and do some work. And to do that work is what we are going to look at, how it is actually be leveraged within application integration, which is the product which we looked at earlier. So I will continue with the same story what Michael had. Possibly I will sprinkle few new things into the story to make it a little more thrilling. So now Emma is part of the same Cloud9 Bean company, right? Which Michael talked about. Emma is now tasked with, okay, let's build an automation flow to handle unhappy customers. Every business has unhappy customers, right? Like be it your coffee bean company, or be it Google, be it large enterprises. So how do I, the most important aspect is how does Emma, today, if Emma is tasked with it, what does Emma need to do? Emma needs to first understand the business process, actually write it down in a document, then go and use a tooling to draft it, look at how to fulfill that by looking at what are the existing APIs, what are the apps to be integrated, what is the connections available. All of that needs to get done, which could potentially take up to multiple weeks or a month to even get started, right? So now with the power of Duet AI, let's take a look at how it's actually going to get solved in matter of possibly minutes or something, so that Emma could actually go and start building this and deliver it to the business faster. So what does this actually mean is we are going to look at how to build automation flows just from simple prompts to actually from natural language descriptions to actually going and generating the flow. If we are not just going to Duet AI just not stops there. Duet AI actually can go and help you uh, in a couple of very critical aspects, which often developers or users do not, as IT practitioners, we are not in love with. One is writing documentation. How often you all actually have shied away from, okay, oh, I need to do another documentation or writing test cases. How could actually Gen AI make sure what you're building is much more robust, strong, so that it has the quality which is expected? And all of this, going back to the talk which I shared, it has to be available, accessible in the place where you are. You saw that how it is available, accessible in VS Code, in terms of the API definition. Similarly, this Duet AI is actually available right inside Google Cloud Console, so that you are not actually context switching again, right? So it is actually has all the stuff. But that said, I'm going to actually bring up my demo environment, and I'm actually going to walk through a live demo of this capability. Okay. As I said, I am Emma. I am actually going to go and being tasked with let's actually automate how we handle unhappy customer. Typically, whenever the customers may be unhappy if the coffee bean is not getting delivered on time, if the coffee bean what they ordered and what got delivered is actually kind of different and mixed up, all of that. And that's what we are going to look at automating. So customers have a mobile app to actually go and place the order, which uses the API, which Michael actually showcased. It also has, the app also allows customers to raise, say, for example, a grievance, to actually go and say, oh, I'm unhappy. I need to return this product or whatever it is, right? And for that, in this scenario, let's say that we use the app behind the scenes uses Salesforce to actually go and create a particular case, okay? That's what we are going to actually go and look at it. So as you could see, I have created the flow name called as handle unhappy customer. Hopefully we can turn them into a happy customer through this automation. And the Duet AI is right in the tool itself, so that you don't need to actually go into switch to a chatgpt.com and then come back and copy paste whatever it is required. It is actually available in the context. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go and start using a prompt to ask it to go and help me build a outer flow. In this case, I'm not actually going and create a very complex flow for the demo, but you should all be able to go and try out all complex flows which you have used within your enterprise. I'm going to keep the prompt straight, but highlight few key features or capabilities, right? So I'm going to actually, I'm just saying create an issue when a new case is created in Salesforce and send an email to my support team, right? The key highlights here, if you see, I said the app creates a case inside Salesforce, and I need to go and create an issue because I'm using an enterprise system within to actually go and create, manage my workforce assignments, all of it, right? So what do I mean by that? I am, this goes, I'm going to click on generate. It's going to go and do that. Within my enterprise, within Cloud9, I'm using actually Jira and Zendesk because I actually acquired something. I have a Jira as my enterprise app. I also have Zendesk as an enterprise app. And I have also used GCS, basically Google Cloud Storage, as another storage system for me to manage files and all of that. And I use Jira to actually do workforce assignment. What does it mean is whenever a customer is unhappy, I need to be assigned to, say, Michael, to actually make sure that he actually looks up the customer, make sure that they are happy, all of it, in addition to the process which we are trying to automate. So that's what we have already created the connection. If you look at what I gave the prompt, it was pretty simple, straight. As you could see, a new case gets created, create an issue, and sends an email. But the moat is not in just generating the flow alone. There is a lot more behind it. What do I mean by that? If you remember the prompt, in the prompt, I never told that use Salesforce as the trigger, right? I just said in a natural language, whenever a new case is created. it actually automatically understood that it has to translate that into a trigger, which means that whenever a new case is getting created in Salesforce, it actually needs to trigger this particular process. And then it went on to go and create an issue and of course notify the support team. Couple of key highlights here is I said Salesforce and I did not say a trigger. It automatically created the variables required to go and get the Salesforce data into the automation flow. Just not that. I said the keyword here, issue. If you, many of you folks would have used Jira. If you actually go and look at Jira, Jira uses the word called as issue, right? And it was able to automatically identify my enterprise connection, that there was a Jira connection, and that's what I'm actually going and using it. And it actually goes and pulls up that Jira connection. And not just the Jira connection, it went and built up the variables required to create an issue. Like for example, here, this is the, if you're familiar with Jira, many of these will sound very familiar to you. This is the actual variable for the issue. This is the actual fields within the issue object or issue entity within Jira connector, right? So imagine this work which Emma had to do manually. Emma would have actually taken possibly weeks to go and read Jira documentation, go and identify what is the Salesforce documentation, build the automation flow. Now, in even a 3-step process would have taken weeks. Now it's a matter of seconds. The Emma has actually go and get this done, right? That's the power which you are seeing. Let's make it a little more spicy. What do I mean by that is, let's try and put Gen AI to test, meaning just to show you that I want to show that I'm doing a live demo. So let's actually try and make it to see if Gen AI could, I'm going to change the prompt, very simple. As I said, I'm actually switching, transposing my statement. Instead of actually saying whenever a new case is created, I'm actually saying that upfront. And also I'm actually going and saying create a ticket. Okay. So again, what this does is this actually goes and builds up the prompts required, like passes the prompt, understands the prompt to the LLM and generates the flow. And it just not, again, the flow itself is pretty straight, same thing what we had seen. Let me actually minimize this a little bit so that you guys can. And once I click on confirm, the flow itself is pretty same, right? Like it's this new case. As I said, I transposed, but it's still AI was able to understand. It is not about and it just creating a ticket and sending an email. But the most important aspect is it actually got changed from, if you remember, I said issue in the second prompt. I said ticket. Ticket is not an object within Jira. Okay, ticket is an entity within Zendesk. So what did the AI do? AI said, okay, now the user has asked for a ticket. I find that there is an enterprise connection called as Zendesk, and Zendesk has a ticket. That's what I should be actually going and doing it. So now if there are multiple systems as Emma, I don't need to identify which system do I need to go out and connect, which system I need to go out and actually go out and create this. All of this, the AI is automated, which means that, again, just a 3-step process, it has actually accelerated weeks of work for me to actually get stuff done, right? So here you will actually go ahead and see that it is even suggesting, it is not only one-time skeleton generation. Duet AI is there as a true companion to you in every step of it. Like as you could see, when I clicked on create ticket, it is proactively said, oh, there is another system which is used within Cloud9, which also has something very related called as issues. Would you want to replace it? But did I by mistake say it as a ticket? So again, it actually is proactive in making sure that it is able to support in getting your work done. Okay. Let's again make it a little more spicier. So I showed you how it is all AI can understand your enterprise context. It understood your Jira connection. It understood your Zendesk connection, not just the connection. It was deep enough to understand the entities which you are using within your organization, like a ticket or an issue, which system it comes from. It could be a custom database. It could be your custom app. All of that is what it's going to do it. So I'm actually going to go and try out one more final scenario. Hopefully Murphy's laws doesn't span up. It is not about, I talked to you about, it's not one-time generation, right? It is actually a true companion of being it. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go and can even extend the flow through a prompt. Like, okay, I have a flow generated. I need to add few more steps in it. Can I actually go ahead and do it? Yes. So I'm actually going to go ahead and say, to make the customer happy, to make Michael and Lauren and every other customer happy, whenever they report a issue, let's give them free coffee. Who doesn't like free coffee? Okay, so I'm going to actually go ahead and say, place an order for a free coffee for delivery, right? Again, the same thing it does. It actually goes and understands, passes the LLM, identifies what the steps to be done, whether it could be more complex. You could say, for each thing, do this, iterate through. It can actually understand and go and do multiple things here. As you could say, it came up with so place an order and actually a delivery method. But more important thing which I wanted to showcase is, sorry, my bad. Did I click undo? My bad. Sorry, just give a second. Let the AI come back again and ask it for the delivery. Uh, what I wanted to show is not the actual additional steps it created. It can, as I said, it can actually go and create more steps. What I wanted to showcase is the power of enterprise context here, right? In case of place an order, what the place an order is actually going and doing is, it is able to go and identify a recommendation similar to the Jira. In this case, it looked at as a recommendation called as place an order with a REST API. Where is this REST API coming in from? This REST API is actually within my same organization. I have an API for delivery, which actually has an entity called as order, I guess. Where do I have an entity called as orders? And it has a schema for order, all of it, because I said place an order for free delivery, and this is actually food delivery. It was actually good and able to recommend that, okay, you should be able to fulfill this step by using an enterprise API, which already you have. And that's what is place an order. So if I click it, it's not just about recommendation. It automatically filled in what all the endpoints is required, what method to actually go and do it. All of them is pre-populated, right? So again, imagine combing through thousands and thousands of API within your enterprise. Now I have that with the AI recommendation saying in one step based on the prompt that I could actually use the right API, which means lesser error, more faster, deliver the solution with the business wants there. So with I hope you all follow the demo in terms of how it was able to generate the flow, how it was actually able to go and use your enterprise context, your connections, your apps, and your APIs. With that, I will actually switch back to the slide to give a quick summary, and then we can move to the next section. So what you just to summarizing the power of Duet AI within application integration for helping you to automate. You could actually take your words to action, which is what we saw. I gave multiple prompts transposing from one to another, but it was still able to understand what it was. It is proactive as a true companion. It actually is telling you what is best for you to get done. You don't need to go out and ask. It is actually able to go out and tell you what it is. And it actually goes and understands your enterprise connection. It's able to understand your enterprise APIs. More importantly, it is actually able to go and also can help, which I did not cover, can help in generating documentation, assistance and documentation, automate your test case creation. All of that is what the Duet AI can actually go and help you and support doing it. With that, I will hand it over to Mike to talk about the last portion of, okay, you saw how to unlock data with APIs, how to make your processes useful with application integration. Let's talk about that supercharge your AI, how to actually democratize it and make it available to every other persona with Vertex extensions and BART plugins. Over to you, Michael.
Awesome. Thank you, Pramodh. Yes, so the last part of our journey is talking about that application layer, right? How do we make it usable by users? And so this is going to include introducing our last hero of our journey from the Cloud9 Bean and Company, which is Billy. Billy is a solutions engineer whose aim is to make these APIs that they have built and integrated with other products actually exposed to the end users, right? And they want to expose them not just via mobile app or a web app, but through actual LLM, through Vertex or through ChatGPT. Now, how do they do that? Let's see. So in API Hub, which is part of Apigee, you can easily create an extension for any of the APIs you have stored. And so with just a few clicks, you can select whether you want to create a manifest for ChatGPT or Vertex AI, We will help you fill that information that the LLM needs in order to use that API, and you can publish it directly. So with just a few clicks, the API that you have created, that Shiloh has created in the first step, you can just make it available just like that. You can secure that API using Apigee to make sure that only the data that you want shared is shared, and that's it really. So we are not gonna look at a demo for this one, but let's just talk about why is this helpful, right? So as I already mentioned, think about LLMs as another application layer for your application for users, right? You can expose those APIs that you already have only in seconds to those to those LLMs. You can easily manage the APIs using Apigee and API Hub with all the capabilities that already is. So if you want to publish a new version of your API, you can ensure that not just your applications pick up that latest version, but also the large language models that have access to these APIs. And so with this, the LLM can take an actual action, right, using your API. So for example, if you want to, have update your billing address, let's say, right? So instead of navigating the 7-level deep layer navigation menu, right, you can simply ask the LLM to do that, which has access to that. If you give it access to your API, your customer can do that easily with just a few words in an LLM. And so that's what extensions allow you to do to really easily manage that access to this data through this new channel. So with that being said, I'm going to take a little step back here and recap what we just talked about. It's been a lot. We have shown you a lot of great demos. We have talked to you about a lot of good reasons why and how we are making Gen AI available for your businesses and for you. So let's talk about from the start. We were talking about how you can unlock data by building APIs and how Apigee API Management is making that easier for you, how you can really quickly create APIs to access the data. You have then seen Pramodh showing how you can create an application integration, connecting the various applications together and building flows with natural language, really simple, very easy, in an awesome cloud native experience. The last part that we just talked about was how can you supercharge your AI, meaning how can you give all those conversational agents access to actual data so that they can take action on your behalf. They don't just have to respond to questions, they can actually do things. And all of this is to say that there was one theme throughout this, if you noticed. And that's what we at Google Cloud call shift down. So the two sort of graphs that you can see here, on the left side, what you see is what has been happening for the past several years where the developer burden has been shifting left, so to speak, right? So developers have not just been designing, building, testing those APIs, they've been also deploying it and releasing. So there was a lot of work that a developer had to do in order to build application and make them available to the users. But that just doesn't scale, right? So what we argue at Google Cloud instead is that it's time to shift down, right? You should take advantage of all the tech platforms and their capabilities to free up the time and the capabilities of those developers so they can collaborate more, they can build more, or they can just simply actually try to have an 8-hour workday instead of working super long hours to fulfill all those never-ending requirements. And so on the right side, you can see how does that look like? What does shift down means? It means that the platform capability takes up much more of that burden, which previously has been on the developers. And throughout the process, I hope that has sort of become clear how the applications we are building will help you do that. So now that we are done with the content, I wanted to share a big announcement that we were saving all the way until the end. Everyone who attended the webinar today, we are excited that we will invite you into the Apigee and Application Integration Trusted Tester program in the next couple of days. Now, if you have not yet signed up, in order to receive the invite, you need to sign up for the Trusted Tester program. You need to leverage that URL that you see there, or just scan that QR code. You will see the form that looks like the one on the right. There you can select the applications that you want to get access to in the Trusted Tester program, or you want to request access to the Trusted Tester program. Make sure you select the Duet AI and Apigee API Management and the Duet AI and Application Integration Management. And if you do so when you've attended this webinar, you should expect an invite. And of course, you can also try the products on the URLs that you see there. But if you want to leverage the Duet AI capabilities that you have seen here, please make sure to fill out that form and expect an invite to the program. With that, we'll go to Q&A.
Amazing. Thank you both, Michael and Pramodh, and thank you everyone for joining us. We do have about 10 more minutes remaining for Q&A, so thank you for all of your questions. We will dive into them, but before we do, we just had a few pre-submitted questions that we're going to cover as well that we think will be beneficial for this audience. So let's dive in. Our first question is, does Duet AI in Apigee allow an effective API management workflow?
Yeah, I love this question. So I think this really shows, the power of what we are building here. So if you think about Apigee, if you step back and think about what it does, it's an excellent tool to manage your proxies, to manage your gateways, to see analytics on those, to secure the gateways. But as this sort of viewer has noticed, what really Duet AI and Apigee now allows you is extend that workflow, right? So you can start as early as you have an idea for an API. You can use Duet AI to build that. You can then, refine it with working with your counterparts. You can use it to build the API, right? Leverage all the Duet AI capabilities to actually implement that API. And then when you register it to your API hub, which exists in Apigee, that allows you to manage that entire lifecycle, so to speak, of that API across the full scale of designing, building, deploying, and monitoring. So yeah, love that question. I think that just is a great sort of takeaway from what we have been talking about.
Fantastic. All right, moving along. So what are the benefits of exposing APIs in conversational interfaces such as Vertex AI compared to a traditional application?
Yeah, so I think I talked a little bit about this already. I think, and what I read here when people say traditional application, I think it's like a mobile app or a web app, right? And so the way how I always encourage people to think about it, right, is think about conversational experiences as another sort of this channel to your customers, right? So, and it doesn't mean that mobile apps or web apps will become less important. On the other hand, they are penetrating more and more our life as well. But there is just some tasks that are better suited, perhaps, to be done in a conversational agent. So I was already talking about that, navigating that 7-layer deep menu, right? Just to find that right place where you need to update your billing address, right? So imagine instead of having to do that, you can just ask an agent, like you would anybody else, or any human to help you with that, and you can do it right there without the burden of navigation. The other way how we could sort of think about it is as well, some people just prefer different conversation interfaces or different interfaces, right? Instead of a mobile app or a web app, some people might prefer conversational interface. And so you as a developer offering that choice and the options, I think is always great, because you can meet the customer or the user where they are.
Amazing. All right. So our next and final of the pre-submitted questions, and then we'll jump over into the live Q&A from the chat. So beyond Duet AI, can I use Vertex AI models in my automation flows?
Absolutely. I actually did not get to show you that capability. We all appreciate, you saw the demo of how Duet AI is going to help you, all of that in increasing your productivity, generating the flows, all of that. The key aspect is many of the flows require access to Gen AI, right? Like you have your Vertex models, it could be Bison text, which we have 100+ models in the model garden. Or you could have built your own enterprise specific model. Like, for example, I have a model around pricing, and that automation flow needs to actually use that model to actually go and get the pricing, or be it in terms of responding to customers in the language of your enterprise. You have developed a custom model. So we have a pre-built task so that you don't need to write code, so that you can actually drag, drop, and just configure your Vertex model to be invoked as part of your automation flow, right? So it's a great question. If you see, it is like we use AI to help you do better through Duet AI. We also help you use your own AI or Google's AI as part of your automation flow. That's what it is. So fantastic question. Thank you for that. With that, we can open up questions on the from the what do you say, live section. I will get started with a couple of them, if that's okay, Lauren and folks. What I see, is there a new Google Cloud account with no existing connections or APIs in API Hub? Will Duet AI be able to generate workflow API spec? Gaurav, you had a question. Absolutely. Like any other LLM, this will be able to go and generate the flow, except that it's going to hallucinate, meaning like it will actually go and tell steps what it thinks is right for it to get that done. The key aspect, as I said, LLM will always give you the answer. We want to make sure that the answer is much more accurate, much more robust for your use case, for your enterprise, all of that. That's where, if you have connections, it will use the connections. If you have the APIs, it will use the APIs. It's not a mandatory aspect of it. So, but the power of Duet AI always is there for you to actually experience there. I will take one more from Gaurav himself, because I'm going bottom up. Sorry, folks, my bad. And I will then hand over. The next question is, what is the percentage of reduction we anticipate in building an integration ground up in application integration? So we have seen, based on the flow, we have done our own benchmarks with and qualitative study and quantitative study in terms of what users are doing with Duet AI today. And we see roughly around 60 to 70% improvement in actually getting the generated skeleton done. Lot of improvement in writing documentation, far more improvement, because nobody actually writes documentation. So the benchmark was very, very low. To get to documentation, we see a lot of huge benefits. So, and in terms of using your enterprise data, there is a lot additional benefits. It's not like percentage improvements, because it is actually making sure that it reduces error, makes it robust, all of that. So that's where we see the benefit. So huge things in terms of both our qualitative and quantitative study. And there is more to be done. We are not done with this. What you saw in the demo is we are scratching. There's more for us, which is in actually getting installed. Yeah, we can pick other questions, Michael and Lauren.
Yep. Yeah, we'll queue up the next questions, but I just wanted to say, for any questions that we're not able to get to, please use the Google Cloud community forums, and the links are in the YouTube description. So our team will be monitoring those and happy to help answer your questions that we're not able to get to today. So just wanted to cover that before diving into our few other questions. All right. So the first one, that we'll take is around languages. So my customer has a mix of at least two languages. How should I handle that with Google AI?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I will say that today in the Trusted Tester program, and what you will be getting access to, is we support English only. So just a disclaimer. But the models as they come in, and there's a question about Gemini, for example, that's naturally a multilingual model, and so. Sort of the way, in simplified way, the way how you handle it is you speak to the LLM in the language that you prefer, and it will answer you in the right language. So it should be as simple as that.
Great. Okay, and then our next question is, I have a Cloud Code or Duet AI enabled, an Apigee emulator, but I don't see any API hub in the drop-down listing in VS Code. And I think we provided a response here in the chat, but is the team able to elaborate here a little bit?
Yeah. So yes, this is correct. This is because in order to see the API hub and the entire experience I was showing, you need to be part of the Trusted Tester Preview program. And so, as I mentioned, we will be sending an invite to, if you have already on the list. If you are not on the list, please again use that link that we shared, and you will receive an invite. Once you are sort of onboarded and complete the few steps that we talked about, you will be able to see that, as well as all the other experiences we talked about.
Yeah. Let me just add, which is in line with another question from German Alonso as well. If you have already registered for Duet AI, thank you. Especially Duet AI in Apigee or Duet AI in application integration. Don't forget to do the check boxes based on the link, so that we could actually go and invite you. That's a prereq. If you have not registered for those two, please go ahead and do that. From German Alonso, there was a question around: is it possible to share documentation? Once we actually onboard you, like send you the invite, the documentation automatically gets made available. So Trusted Tester is a closed program which we would want to gather your feedback, and that's why it's not publicly available. Once you are onboarded, it will all be available to you to actually go and read and access.
Perfect. Well, I'm going to bring up that final resources slide as we are at time. So again, final reminders, please do sign up with that QR code and the link that you see on the screen. Any future questions, please direct them to the community and our team will be happy to follow up. Get started with the product in these URLs that you see here, and we will be sending out information that we covered today, including the recording and an email to everyone who registered for this event. So stay tuned, and thank you again so much, everyone, for joining us. It was great to see you all here. And Pramodh, Michael, amazing job on the demos. I loved seeing those and sharing all of the information and best practices. So thank you so much. I'm very excited about what we saw here today, and I hope you are as well. Any final thoughts or recommendations before we close out today?
Nothing in particular. First, again, go and you don't need to wait for the invite. You can go and try out the product today. It's cloud.google.com/Apigee, cloud.google.com/application integration. So get your hands dirty. You will use Duet AI. You can then appreciate what Duet AI is actually going to help you with. And finally, I would again want to thank you all for giving us an hour to make this possible. So thank you.
Thank you all for joining. Really appreciate your time.
Amazing. Thank you, everyone. And we hope you have a good rest of your day, evening, or wherever you are.